Twitter gives us a few more characters. Google has a space for us. And somebody just had a baby on Facebook live. Are you going to watch all that and a whole lot more on Tech News Today?
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1514, recorded Monday, May 16th, 2016.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Epson's new EcoTank printers. With Epson's line of SuperTank all-in-one printers, you can print thousands of documents without running out of ink. EcoTank is loaded and ready to print when you are. Visit epson.com/ecotank to find out more. And
by Igloo software. Igloo is an intranet you'll actually like. It connects people with the information they need to do their best work. Try it for free at igloosoftware.com/twit or sign up for a live demo to see it in action.
Oh, hi. This is Tech News Today, and we talk about technology news with you. We try. We hope that you're listening to us as we talk about the tech news.
They just left. Dang it. We had the show. We're right at the beginning, and we just lost them.
Let's talk about puppies then. No, right. Tech news.
All right.
I'm Megan Morrone.
And I'm Jason Howell. You went for a long run yesterday, and I'm jealous because I don't do things like that. How do you do it?
I don't know. Yeah, I did the Beta Breakers in San Francisco. It's a crazy race where
it is kind of crazy.
I mean, there were lots of people running. But
that's at the beginning of the race. At the beginning of the race, lots of people are running. Towards the middle to the end of the race, people are basically just drinking in the streets.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's basically it's a big street party. A lot of people start at the beginning. Drinking in the streets. But
5 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like they get drunk before they go to the race. That's what it's all about.
But I ran it. I have the watch data to prove it.
Oh, nice.
And a little Uber Lyft story also that I'll get to later.
Excellent. All right, so let's talk about Twitter a little bit. Have you ever tried to post something to Twitter and it looks awesome? And then you add the link to a picture and suddenly you find yourself 10 characters in the red. 140 characters, I think, adds up quickly, and it adds up for me all the time, especially if a URL is used. Twitter is reportedly nearing the end of counting the characters of tweeted URLs into the final character count. The change could take place within the next few weeks. Obviously not officially announced, but I feel like this is a change, at least for Twitter, that a lot of people have asked for. At the same time, anytime you mess with like the 140 character anything, the juju of Twitter, people are going to kind of push back and be like, but that's its personality. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I love the brevity of Twitter. Like, I love that you have to limit your characters. But so images, I think, are about 24 characters. So I don't think it's going to make a huge difference to be able to have those 24 characters or not have the characters. And URLs also, like, they're about, I guess, an average of 24 characters usually.
Yeah, it's like 23, 24
when they
right around
shrink
there.
them up. So, I don't know. I think I don't want it to change any more than that. But, you know, it was originally designed for SMS. Like, that was why. There was it wasn't like someone said, this is 140 characters is the perfect little sentiment that you could say. But we've all gotten used to it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want it to be much longer.
And it's certainly kind of differentiated Twitter a little bit to have that, like, that extreme restriction. Yeah, I don't know. They actually considered raising the limit to 10,000 characters, so I guess we should be happy that that isn't happening at this point. But what I wonder is if it's kind of like your bank account or whatever, like you are going to spend up to the, or people, maybe not. Okay, so myself, you're going to spend up to the amount that you have. You know what I mean? And no matter what amount you have, if you end up with more, are you going to save that extra money or are you just going to spend right up to it? I feel like maybe that's a similar thing here. 23 more characters, we're still going to run out of space because we're gonna fight to use all of that space.
I usually, when I'm tweeting something, I have the idea and it's usually longer, and then I appreciate having to be briefer about it. I think the reason they're doing this is a lot of people, when they want to tweet text, a picture of text, they'll tweet the picture instead of the text, and then that I think is not great for Twitter because then they can't search it, like, or advertisers. So like a block of text, unless it has metadata in it, no one has any idea what that is, and they can't use it for what they want to use it for, which is advertising or searching, and having more content connected to other contents.
Right. I don't know. I'll take it. 24 characters, sure.
Yeah.
if it even happens. because we don't know.
Right. If Twitter even survives to next week.
Oh, I
which
know.
we don't
Yes,
even know.
exactly. It could explode. Yeah.
The Google I/O Developers Conference is almost upon us. We are already hearing about a bevy of new tools from Google. Last week, they introduced Gboard, their iOS keyboard. It is quickly becoming my default keyboard. I really love it. Today, the company announced Google Spaces, a new tool that's supposed to, I guess, take on Facebook groups or Facebook Messenger or maybe both. It launched this afternoon in the middle of iOS Today, the show I do with Leo.
Don't you love that?
Yeah, but we installed it. Leo installed it live, as he is wont to do. It's sort of interesting. It's a little buggy. It doesn't work on the iPad. It works much better on the iPhone. So I mean, I've been trying it out a little bit. I did the thing. I invited all the women in my book group, and they're probably going to get the message and be like, "What is this crazy
what is
tool?
a Google Space?
What is Megan trying to get us to download again?" But I think it has some use. Like I think Facebook groups, Facebook private groups are okay, but they're not great. And I always get confused when I don't know if you have groups that you're in, but like I always think, oh, well, that person posted that picture on Facebook, and then I realize it's in a private group, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
And it's not integrated enough into Messenger for me either. Like I think it's hard to do instant messaging, so maybe this will do that as well.
Yeah, like I feel like Google's got like a jumbled thing going on when it comes to messaging inside their walls, because they've got so many different efforts, so many things that kind of touch on each other. They've got Hangouts. They've got on Android, they've got both Hangouts that does SMS and messaging, but they've also got Messenger or Messenger rather. It's like dedicated SMS messaging app. They've got, all of these different ways that you can chat with each other and ways that have existed, and then they've removed them. So at this point, I just kind of get confused when they come out with yet another thing. There's also rumors that at Google I/O, they're going to be coming out with some sort of new kind of messaging platform. And so at first I was like, oh, well, maybe this is part of that, but it's not.
Oh,
so I don't know.
Because that's what Leo said they were going to be using Spaces at Google I/O, like each
They are
thing is
going to be doing, yes, exactly. That, and they teased that. So basically they're playing around with, as you go to each of these keynotes, you check into a space using the app, and then everybody that's there watching the keynote has a collective experience of chatting with each other. And they say they're going to sprinkle in some special other things there. But that's not the same thing as, Google is reportedly working with the carriers to create kind of an alternative to SMS on a platform level. And so we've heard that too. So it's just getting really confusing as far as what to focus on. I like the tool. At this point, so many of these things come out, and then it just kind of gets forgotten. It's really difficult for me to like buy into it completely and be like, this is what I'm going to use going forward, because you just never know when it's going to be killed.
Right. Well, because Facebook Rooms was the same thing.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, granted, it just launched, but the first thing I tried to do with my book group space was to just post the book we're reading, and it was hard. It was weirdly hard to like look it up and post it. I'm like, that's what it's saying, that this is easy to do.
Yeah,
just
right.
like put a link in there. And it was not as intuitive as I would have hoped from the get-go.
I do think it's interesting that Google is building its search into more of its products and not basically removing friction for using search, because any search that you do through the Google search bar in here is going to register as a search through their site, and that boosts their search numbers and everything. So it's kind of an interesting move, this, and then Gboard does this, where they've integrated it into the app so that you don't have to go outside of your app experience to do a search on Google, and that's really what it's all about for Google. So.
And getting onto iOS, like getting onto the phones that lots of people have. So that will be interesting too.
Sure. So speaking of Google, Waze is also a Google product, and they announced today that it will be testing a new carpooling system called Waze Rider in the Bay Area, beginning with more than 25,000 pre-selected employees from companies across the Bay. Potential riders can make a request for a ride from other users that have a similar commute. And Google actually initially tested this out in Tel Aviv, Israel last year with a carpooling service called Ride With. In that test, Google actually took a 15% cut off the transaction cost. The Bay Area test will not see Google taking a cut, at least for now. It still feels like it's, they're kind of figuring out where it's going to go and how they can use it and everything. But yeah, so basically what they're looking at here are commuters that share a common destination for the most part. So Google really chose companies that have similar kind of locations near the Google offices like UCSF, Adobe, Walmart, Global e-commerce, and a bunch more so that they can kind of, easily hop on and go near the same space.
I am fascinated by this in the larger picture of self-driving cars and ride-hailing services for a few reasons. I think that, people have been trying to carpool for decades and decades. And, the biggest thing I think that keeps people from doing it is they want to be in their own car. They want to leave when they want to leave, like efficiency, essentially. So, like, who's more efficient than Google, Waze, and an app? Just having the app on your car and be like, okay, well, this is where I'm going to be picked up, and this is, when I'm going to be picked up, and who's going to be riding with me. So I think that's fascinating. Also, I think for, getting people to ride Lyft or Uber or take any of those, when we talked about this in Las Vegas, like, it's just getting people to actually install that app is just it's a big barrier for some people. Like, it seems more efficient, but I have to install an app. Obviously, it's easy. We know that, but people already have Waze. A lot of people already have Waze. So, like, that's done. They've got the app. So I think this will be really interesting. Also, the money sharing aspect of it. There's no money. There's no cash changing hands here. You don't earn any money by being part of this program, but you do save. You split your gas. So I think that, especially for people commuting in the Bay Area, I think that's going to be something that, like, hey, that is something I want to do. Gas is expensive. I would like to share my ride. So I think that it is an interesting foray for Google into the Lyft Uber space.
Waze Rider, I actually just looked it up. It is a separate install. So it's not built into the Waze app specifically. So you do have to know to install it. I wonder if it'll be linked to from within the app, so that it at least removes a little bit of resistance there.
Maybe at some point, this is really beta. It's brand new.
Yeah.
So, nobody can do it now. Unless you're part of the program.
Yeah, the initial program. But it does sound kind of cool. Like, I was, reading some of the experiences, like, from, of course, a Google employee, because they've been testing it for a few months now leading up to it. And, she's like, this is a great way. Like, Google's a huge company, and she gets to, meet all of these people that she's never met before that work at the same place as her. So it seems like a great way to get people kind of in the same ride. And not to mention, man, traffic, at drive time is just a pain in the butt if you're not carpooling in some way, shape, or form. So this actually really could save a lot of time.
Right. And so it's only 2 rides a day, to and from work, so that they're saying, like, we're not going to just drive you everywhere to the bar or whatever.
Oh, you want to get some eggs at the grocery store? Yeah. Okay, we can do that. Waze Rider.
And Lyft also has a carpooling service. I had a friend that I was, like, pushing Lyft on, and she didn't realize there were 2 different. And she was like, I got in a car. There were other people in there, like, that I had to ride with. And I was like, well, that's something they're testing. But she actually said it was fine.
Yeah. Man, you are like a technology pusher with your friends.
I know.
You push them to Lyft. You push them to the spaces.
Yeah, I know. It's true. So, at the Beta Breakers over the weekend, you run from downtown San Francisco to the ocean, and then we took the ferry, so we had to get back there. I'm not going to run the 7 miles
Why
back.
not? You ran there. You proved you could do it.
Yeah, true. But no, why would I do that? So there were 13 of us, and, there was like, well, let's just take Uber, which I think is like Kleenex for a lot of people, or Band-Aids, and I'm like, well, I prefer Lyft. I think they treat their employees better. We've had a better experience at NAB, like just having a driver actually cancel their Lyft and pick us up, and their Uber and pick us up instead. But the Lyft driver she had been a vice principal in Oakland, in the Oakland public school system, and just got burned out. And now she does this. She was like, today I'll make probably $600, and it's great. And she's like, I know that this isn't the future, like that they're going to be self-driving ride-hailing services in the, not so distant future. But she's like, it's great. I'm just going to, figure out what I do next. It's safe. Like, she was a woman around my age. She does, all she needed was a driver's license and a background check. And, and she was like, going to get to meet people and talk to great people like you guys. So it is, I think it is interesting. And I do think that carpooling would be better if if it was a more efficient system.
Oh, for sure.
So here's a quick update to a story we reported last week about how Google had banned the purveyors of payday loans from their advertising network, effectively costing Google millions of revenue. BuzzFeed reports that if you still want to search for a payday loan, or advertise your payday loan, you can always use Bing. Microsoft has well, just a little over 21% of the search market. That's according to ComScore. Bing also powers part of Yahoo search, which has 12%. So, I mean, basically, Microsoft listened to the same people that were that talked to Google and convinced them that these payday loans were really damaging to people, and they haven't made a decision yet. But they do say that. Microsoft doesn't let anyone have illegal or misrepresentative ads, so it's probably the same thing. Microsoft also recently banned those fake tech support ads from Bing, so yeah, I mean, it's just sort of splitting hairs. But yeah, I guess if you still have a payday loan you want to advertise or you need one, you can do that at Bing.
Yeah. I mean, you can actually still do it at Google because it hasn't taken effect yet.
Oh, right.
Once that runs out, and actually, I'd be really surprised if Microsoft didn't hop onto this bandwagon because, I mean, I was kind of comparing their restricted, things between both search engines, and they're pretty similar. And a lot, I mean, it's pretty, most of it is just common sense for the most part. Bing has a restricted content policies page that prohibits like deceptive products and deceptive services, and many would argue that this definitely falls into that category.
But I think that they were like, Microsoft's also saying, we don't make any moral judgments. Like they were sort of splitting hairs trying to go that way. Like what we were saying, like, well, why does Google get to decide? But,
sure.
You can use Google, you can use Bing, you can use whatever you want.
Hey, there's probably strength, a lot of upside for Bing filling in the gaps that Google cannot provide.
Exactly.
They could actually get a lot of market share just based on that alone, I think. Flash. It must suck to be you. It looks like an upcoming version of Chrome will oust Flash as the default, replacing it with HTML5. That is, unless the site is on the top 10 domains, one of the top 10 domains that relies on the Flash plugin. There, it'll just be whitelisted and only for one more year to kind of minimize inconvenience at the start. Otherwise, users are going to be asked whether to run Flash when it appears. When a Flash module appears on a page, they'll be asked whether they should. And if a site has an HTML5 option also, that will just simply be used by default, overriding Flash entirely. And I mean, obviously, I think this is a pretty great move. I think we all kind of understand right now that Flash is just one of those scourges of the internet. And I don't know. Smell you later.
First, I thought you were talking about Flash, the superhero.
Oh, no, Flash. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you, Flash. You're cool.
But Flash, we hate you.
Yeah. Now, actually, you can do this right now if you want. I think it was last year I read an article where if you go into Chrome settings, under privacy and content settings, there's a plugins option there, and you can set that to let me choose when to run plugin content. And basically what that does is effectively the same thing. So anytime you see a Flash module on the page, or it's more or less the same thing, it'll, instead of loading it automatically and starting to play the video or whatever, it'll kind of give you this gray screen. This is, do you want to load this? And you kind of right click on it and say run. And that actually speeds it. You talk about speeding up your browsing. That totally speeds things up because it doesn't spend the time preloading those things and, potentially slowing it down because it starts to play that video. It kind of pauses that. And then I've actually really enjoyed that probably for the past half year now. It's improved things.
All right. Well, after the break, we will chat with virtual reality pioneer Gregory Panos about a new Oculus project to use virtual reality to affect social change. But first, let's take a minute to thank Epson, the sponsor of this episode. Epson's revolutionary EcoTank line of printers for home and office introduce a new age in printing. The new EcoTank ET4550 wireless all-in-one printer doesn't use ink cartridges. Instead, it features an innovative refillable ink tank, earning it the title of CES 2016 Innovation Awards honoree. The EcoTank ET4550 comes with enough ink to print up to 11,000 black pages or 8,500 color pages. That's equivalent to about 50 ink cartridge sets. You are loaded and ready to print for up to 2 years. Powered by Epson's leading-edge precision core technology, it delivers high-speed, vivid colors, and laser-quality black text. Plus, auto two-sided printing, a 30-page auto document feeder, and easy wireless printing from tablets and smartphones. All EcoTank printers deliver an unbeatable combination of convenience and value with ultra-low-cost replacement ink bottles. Epson recently released their Creative Print app. Makes it easier to preserve your Instagram and your Facebook photos. Download that app to create personalized photo collages, custom greeting cards, stationery, and coloring book templates. You can also print photos directly onto CD or DVDs. Be creative on the go. Print from your mobile device to a variety of compatible Epson all-in-one printers within your wireless network. Visit Epson.com/ecotank today to transform the way your home, office, or work group prints. For the best combination of ease and value, turn to the new Epson EcoTank printers. That's EPSON.com/ecotank. And we thank Epson for their support. So we talk a lot about VR on this show, the fear of its ability to increase isolation or gaming addiction, as well as the power to promote empathy and work toward positive change in the world. Today, Oculus announced VR for Good, a $1 million pilot program that gives students at 9 San Francisco schools tuition and equipment to make 3 to 5 minute 360-degree films about their community. Joining us to talk about VR's capability to bring about change in the real world is Greg Panos from the Persona Foundation. Welcome, Greg.
Hi there.
It's good to talk to you again. So,
yes.
What are your thoughts on this Oculus project?
Well, it's interesting that the uptake is rapidly ramping towards the future of VR in journalism. And Oculus responds to all the excitement at the film festivals and with the introduction of the Cardboard and the New York Times app, which shows a lot of empathy-driven news stories that are capable in 360 video, is causing the industry to value this sort of journalism.
So I guess we should probably, I know some VR purists split hairs about this.
It's true.
VR versus 360 video. So Oculus is using the term VR, but what they really mean is 360 video. Do you take issue with the difference between the two?
Well, back in the 90s, we had the same argument. When Apple introduced QuickTime VR, is what they called it. It was a 360 video, just like we have today. And a lot of people that worked in VR argued against it. They said, well, that's not really VR. You have to render it and be able to change your point of view, and stereoscopy needs to be part of that. So the same arguments back in the 90s are still happening today. Luckily today, though, everyone has access to the technology because it's much cheaper. So you can use it however productively you feel. And if people enjoy what you're doing and they feel there's value in it, then the characterization or the classification of it is really moot.
Yeah, and there are some people that have fall on the side of the fence where virtual in the term of not actually there, in physical space, but there in a digital representation, even if it's just a photo, classifies enough as virtual. It's almost like VR, the terminology is being rewritten right now. You know what I mean? Especially when a company like Oculus, which is at the forefront of a lot of what's going on right now, at least from a publicly visible sense, is calling this that, then it's almost like they're rewriting the term a little bit. But
right. Now, one of the things that I just brought up at a conference I spoke at about a week and a half ago is the terminology. We have a unique opportunity nowadays to create new terminology. One of my pet peeves is the word avatar is used sort of blanketly to describe any kind of character on the internet, whether it's a representation of a dog or it's a photoreal version of you or your grandmother. It's still called an avatar. There's really no differentiation in the word. And there have been so many different variations of words to describe various kinds of avatars, some of them just beautifully constructed words, other ones absolutely silly. It'd be interesting to see what the public adopts over time and comes to believe as being a generic word that describes a particular type of character or manifestation or construct on the internet. I think the same is true for various types of journalism that will take place that use 360 video, that use 3D rendered video, that use volumetrically captured video with multi-cameras, that are rendered into a scene using voxelization. There's really a lot going on and a lot on the horizon right now. And Oculus is definitely, it's within their wheelhouse to try to stimulate this sort of thing.
So you mentioned the Silicon Valley VR conference, SVVR. What were some of the most interesting things you saw people doing there?
Well, there were a lot of 360 VR cameras there, probably 3 or 4 new versions of them. Old brand names like Kodak have been trying their hand at creating versions of 360 video cameras. The Theta S was being sold like hotcakes at their booth, the Ricoh, that is. The Nokia had a very large presence with the Ozo camera, and my friend, director Brett Leonard, was there, and I think he may be using one of the new 360 cameras, or perhaps it's the Ozo. in a documentary and a film about an artist in Denmark that he's working on. And many, many, many other filmmakers and journalists are beginning to take up 360 cameras as an immediate path to content for VR. Creating content which has rendered content and 3D captured content is a little more difficult, but it has a tremendous potential in the field of journalism as well. If the pipeline and the manner in which these sorts of projects can be constructed can be streamlined and made easier for filmmakers without having to have a whole lot of computer graphics and technical chops.
So obviously this is good PR for Oculus to give $1 million to this sort of effort. They're handing this money, or this equipment rather, the money into equipment that can kind of put this technology into students' hands to reflect their experiences and their lives essentially. I'm just curious to know, like, we're so used to thinking of this technology in the, game space, let's say, but it really seems like there's a big kind of push forward, and maybe this is necessary to legitimize the platform, but a push forward into this social change aspect. Do you think this is going to be a huge part of what we see over the next, coming years with VR technology?
Yeah, I think the adoption of 360 video and with VR as a platform in which to experience it is already here, and people can witness it on Google Cardboard. The New York Times has a whole group working on VR experiences, and they're working with other kinds of producers and directors that have their own companies creating content as well to repurpose their content, but they're doing so in-house as well. 6 days ago, there was a Charlie Rose episode where one of the people involved with the New York Times project was on the panel, and so was Jason Rubin from Oculus, and Chris Milk, one of the leading filmmakers in the VR medium, whose company VerseWorks actually produced the Clouds Over Cedra production that was mentioned in the Oculus story that was put out with the press release for the Oculus project. So VRSE Works also produced a number of other empathy-driven news stories that have either appeared in the Times app or separately in the VRSE app, and they have all become darlings of the film festivals. The film festivals really want to find legitimacy and want to find a point where people have a common ground in watching these experiences, and empathy seems to be the one objective that they try to achieve. So rather than just watching a news story and then clicking to the next one, not really feeling much of it, if you're immersed in VR, you really feel as if you're participating in some way. You can look around you and see what's going on in the whole area where you are. You feel as if the presence that was recorded in that moment is the presence that you're experiencing, and you feel it. You feel it emotionally.
So I know you've been in this field for a long time and seen it change in many ways. Is there anything that's happening right now that's markedly different than how it's been, we've talked about VR in the past?
Well, I'm a little bit of an egghead in that I follow display technology and waveguide optics and laser-based retinal projection. So I'm always looking at the evolution of display technology as it gets better and higher resolution and wider field of view, a faster update rate. Those are the things that excite me personally, although I feel very gratified that the adoption of the technologies that are here today, which are actually quite good, is very, very rapid, and that creative content developers and filmmakers and storytellers are picking up these tools with relative ease and finding a community out there of individuals that can help them work through some of the technical details that are part of the startup inertia that is required to shift their thinking from regular two-dimensional photography to immersive photography, eventually three-dimensional broadcasted photography for sports events and other kinds of famous things. One of the ones that impressed me a lot I saw on the New York Times app was the political campaign trail recently with all the various candidates at their rallies, and they set up a 360 camera and you could use the Google Cardboard app to actually be at a Bernie Sanders rally or a Hillary rally, and look around and have a look at the people that are there waving flags and really attending the rally. They're not props that were put in there by the media company in order to create a more interesting 360 video. They just happen to be right there, present at the time. And when you watch it, you feel like you're right there as well. Obviously, you can't get in a fight or an argument with anybody.
But you can
Safer.
clap and you can stand up and scream and all that.
You can clap and scream and run around the room.
Even though you're seated. Google is actually doing this with its I/O keynote. They're streaming that in 360-degree immersive video. So if you really want to be in the keynote for Google I/O, now you can be.
Great.
There you go.
There's a professor down here at USC. She's a good friend of mine, Noni de la Peña. She's considered the godmother of VR. I love all these familiar associations of VR that have been over the years. So in any case, she led the charge in using VR for immersive journalism, and not just 360 video, but fully rendered characters that are performing various acts and various types of things in the experience that reflect the actual reports of a news report. So she did one about the George Zimmerman shooting, another one about I think it was a soup kitchen or food kitchen or an abortion clinic, where people were being harassed online. And these are actually gamified 3D characters that are designed to be semi-photoreal, that reflect actual people that were interpreted from video footage. So it's a very interesting and very exciting field, and the adoption of traditional video and then repurposing as game-based characterification, personification as game characters that tell the same video story is another trend that not a lot of people have seen. You guys are lucky you have access to the Oculus and the Vive and a brand new spanking system up there at the Twit studio. And you can try some of these immersive journalism applications that are a little bit harder to run because they use game engines rather than just video streaming into a sphere. A navigable sphere.
Yeah, I mean, I think access is really one big issue. I do feel really lucky to have access, and everybody doesn't. So this is why this Oculus project sounds really interesting, to put these tools into the hands of people who might not be able to afford to have them or work for someone who has them, as we do. So
one
Greg,
of the things I noticed with the Oculus release was that they mentioned a Galaxy S6 and the Gear VR and one of the other 360 cameras. And of course, Samsung is up to the Galaxy S7 now, and they have a newer VR headset for that to clip into. And Samsung just came out with a 360 camera of their own. So the releases of the technology are rapidly occurring and upgrading and updating to subsequent versions. And it's a wonderful opportunity for companies to get rid of their excess inventory, which is really only less than 6 months old since birth. VR is pushing real hard for the adoption of newer and better technologies. So as the inventory grows and the uptake slows for the older tech, they can afford to give this away and get people going. The manner in which they gather their journalism and the like isn't quite different than with the newer technology. So a lot of the production pipelines and ways that they would go about doing that are similar, even with one or two revs behind.
well, Greg, you and I had a chance to sit down at NAB in Las Vegas last month, and we had a great conversation. I love talking to you. I'll tweet out the link to that, too, if people want to listen to more of Greg's history with VR and what he's been working on. Thanks so much. And where is the best place for people to find you besides the Persona Foundation? Is that the best place?
Yeah, if they just Google my name, I have a Wikipedia page, and the Persona Foundation is sort of like a dream R&D think tank that I'd like to put together and have been basically structuring for over a period of time. I believe that the next wave of VR will be a platform for character simulations of all different kinds, starting with photorealistic characters that people add to and craft throughout their lifetime and leave behind as a definitive storytelling construct that will represent them. beyond their mortal years. I think everyone will pick up on that at some point. It will become very common in our culture. And for now, we're in the second wave of VR since the 90s. There'll be a third and a fourth, and there probably won't be any gaps in between this time.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited about where everything is going, and I can be found at a number of conferences that I speak at. I just spoke at Digital Hollywood, and then before that at SVVR about virtual characters. And I have a Flipboard that I can give everybody if they want to see some of the links for that. It's personifoundation.org/avatarism. And that'll take you to a slideshow, and there's a Flipboard link at the end with lots and lots of interesting human simulation-based links or avatar-based links.
Well, Greg, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Greg.
All right.
Take
Thank you
care.
very much.
All right. Have a wonderful
see you guys soon. Oh, don't forget to go to the Maker Faire. That's coming up.
Okay.
Yeah. I always see Father Robert there. But there's always
Probably
a lot of fun VR there as well for
I'm
people to
sure.
try.
I'm
If
sure.
they want to bring their kids. The SVVR folks always drag out a bunch of systems. There'll probably be even more of them there this year. So I'll be coming for that.
Fantastic. All right.
Thank
Father
you.
Robert will
Okay.
probably see you there.
Thanks again.
All right. Take care,
I'll see
Greg.
you guys soon. Say hi to
Bye-bye.
Leo.
We'll do. Where is he? He just walked by here, so we'll say hi to him in a little bit. But before that, let's check out an email. Keith George, aka Big Tech Coach on Twitter, from the Math, Science, and Technology Initiative at Alabama State Department of Education, writes about our discussion of Apple's Connect Ed initiative to Connect Ed grant that supplies the hardware, software, and professional development support from Apple to 114 schools across the country. We talked about that, I think, Thursday or Friday last week. He says, effective technology integration in education should not be about the device, should be about what the students are doing with it. Plan the lesson first, then the technology. Do keyboarding skills need to be taught? Absolutely, and you need a keyboard for that. But you also need the anywhere, anytime access of a tablet. Good point. For example, as students explore and collect data at a nearby pond to determine effects of acid rain, for example. Please keep talking about technology in education, but also include in that discussion that integrating technology into education is not about the technology, but about teaching students to solve real-world problems using the tools that are available to them. And that's a really good point. It kind of reminds me of this, thing you hear all the time about, kind of a criticism of the younger generation right now, growing up with access to the internet, that, they're just not as smart because they don't have to think or memorize things. They can just go onto Google and search. And I always thought that was kind of a silly argument, because all it is just learning to use the tools that you have to free you up for other things. And so it's just, it's not worse. It's not dumber, in air quotes. It's just different.
Yeah, I agree. Except I do think there is something to be said about that. When we're like asking Siri or asking the Amazon Echo, that just implies that there's an answer, and that Siri or the Amazon Echo knows it, the answer. And I think so. I don't think kids are less smart because they have access to these tools. Absolutely not. But I do think that we have to teach kids that it's like figuring out what the problem is and how you solve the problem is the issue, not just like asking Siri or Google now.
Because what happens if it doesn't work? What are you going to do then?
And
you have to fall back on something.
Right. And like whose answer is that, and where, what's the, like we were talking last week about bias, like who's, what's the bias behind that answer? So I do think, and he's fascinating, Keith, he wrote a really long email. Leo and I talked about a different part of his email on iOS Today too. Because I do think it's really the problems of education haven't really changed. It really is solving problems using the tools, whatever they may be. So.
They're just not opening up encyclopedias as much anymore. They're going to Google and typing in a search for that thing. Up next, Facebook naysayers say there's too many babies on Facebook. We'll share a story that takes that to the next level. But first, let's take a minute to thank Igloo, the sponsor of this episode. Igloo is an intranet that you're going to actually like. It's a cloud platform that helps you share files, collaborate on documents, blog updates, coordinate calendars, manage projects, all the things you need to do with your group. Anyone can add content based on their permissions. They use drag and drop widgets, a WYSIWYG editor, so they make the whole process a whole lot easier than it would be without. Igloo also offers a variety of access. There's authentication and identity services to ensure that only authorized users have access to that information in private clouds, over SSL with 256-bit encryption, so it's secure. Unlike other solutions, you can customize Igloo to fit your specific needs and work with your current IT investments, all the stuff you already have and use regularly, like Office 365, Salesforce, SharePoint, Active Directory, as well as file sharing solutions like Google Drive and Dropbox. And you can even add Zendesk to keep track of or to add new support tickets. It's used by large enterprises and growing companies like User Testing, BDO, American Family Insurance, and ATP World Tour. And you can try it for free for yourself. Just go to igloosoftware.com/twit, or you can sign up for a live demo and you'll see it in action that way. And when you sign up through our link, you can get your own Igloo for up to 10 people absolutely free for as long as you want. That's igloosoftware.com/TWIT to check it out for yourself. And we thank them for their support of Tech News Today.
TNT's fan of the day is Michael Rosner, who has a whole Facebook album dedicated to how he watches TNT, or also the new screensavers. We've seen the one with the Minions on a past episode, I believe. We've seen one of his photos. But we didn't see that one because that was from the screensavers over the weekend.
That was from Saturday, yes. We got a nice warm beer. It was actually really good. Like I don't normally drink warm beer. It was room temperature. It was really, really tasty.
Yeah, you know, I was listening to that episode, not watching it. So it was good to get to see that there was actual beer.
Oh, yeah. We weren't just, it wasn't just water that we poured in there. Probably should have, because no, not really. There was no hangover.
You guys should download that episode. It's great. You guys did a great job.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. And I got an arcade cabinet out of it. Right. So even more fun.
So show us how you watch or listen to TNT or the screensavers. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, Facebook. Use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT and we will find it.
All right, Megan, at what point are we live streaming too much?
Now. It's too much now.
Totally. Could it be the point at which we are live streaming our childbirth experiences?
Right now, so get ready, guys.
Here you go. No. We promise that. That would make the blooper. Yes, and the TriCaster goes dark. That's probably the safe way to approach that. One man did just this. He was patiently waiting for his wife to go into labor and hopefully wrap things up before a scheduled court appearance later that day. Lo and behold, his wife's water broke, and that was the perfect time to hit the button to stream the event, all 45 minutes of it, to Facebook Live. You might not want to scroll down because there is a video player, and I don't know. I mean, it's more or less it's safe-ish.
You watched it.
I watched parts of it actually. I basically got to the end. I wanted to see, like, okay, how far did they actually go? Anything that I saw, he didn't actually show too much, right? And in that environment, it's really easy to show probably more than Facebook would allow, I would imagine, on its network. But man, I teared up a little bit right there at the end, because it's just kind of, if you've ever been through this kind of experience, which you have.
I have,
Megan.
Yeah. Two times and got 3 babies out of it. So
anyone's been through this experience, it's kind of a crazy scenario, very emotional. And so on one hand, I was like, oh man, that's really awesome, this shared experience. On the other hand, streaming it live to the world carries its whole list of potentials. I mean, what if it had gone wrong? Did she want that?
Right.
I don't know. There's no mention in the article whether she was like cool with this.
Yeah.
Just streamed live to Facebook.
Yeah.
No big deal.
So I don't think this is the first time that a baby's birth has been streamed live on the internet. Like, I think that it's like live stream or something. I think that it's been done. It's just the first time on Facebook. And I feel like we're hearing that this is the first time this person did this live on Facebook, and this horrible thing and this horrible thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of those stories right now. You're
yeah.
Right.
And I mean, I think it probably is the same as, I don't know if you videotaped your children's birth, but I was like, no video cameras coming in there like that. I mean, we're talking about like the Super 8 camera. Like, I'm not, my daughter's 13 years old. Yeah. So that was what was available to us then. So I think this is kind of the same thing. Like, what are we comfortable with? Right. And, I mean, we love to judge parents. So, like, that's what's happening. Like, I can't believe they did that. Like, they did it. It was their choice. Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. It might have not been her choice because she might have been in so much pain. She was like, whatever.
Well, yeah, and I can't help but go to the fact that, like, you don't know how it's going to turn out. Like, it could be actually a really bad scenario, and then you're just, like, broadcasting it to a bunch of people, and then that carries a whole host of craziness. But I mean, having said that, like if you look at the initial thread that it started on, it's all their friends and family, and like they were obviously all the people that were commenting, they were watching as it was happening.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a mind-blowing kind of thing to think about. Like, here, let me invite you into this what is normally a hyper-personal situation. And it becomes this like shared experience that probably because it ended well and because, it didn't like cross any of those lines that I'm sure Facebook has for content on its network. Those people will remember this as the time their very close friend had a baby and they were there to experience it.
Right.
So it's weird. It's like, I understand both sides of this. I don't know how I feel in the end.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, and I'm not going to.
Now, okay, let me just restate here. I didn't watch it. I skipped through it.
Let my Bitmoji talk for me.
There we go. All right. I like it. Tomorrow's guest will be Scott Johnson from the Frog Pants Network. You're not going to be here.
No, I'm not. I'm going to be live streaming something.
No.
No. My daughter's getting her braces off. I won't live stream it. And my sons are running in the West Side Relays, which is like this race during the day at school. All the kids run. So I'm going to take a day off and be with my children's.
Do it. We got this. Scott and I got this.
I think you do.
TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 12 a.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be a part of the show by emailing us at tnt@twit.tv. You can also leave us a short voicemail at 260-TNT-SHOW. And you can find the show on Twitter. We are at Tech News Today TV.
And if you want to be the first to get the show and you can't watch live, then subscribe. Even if you can watch live, subscribe also. twit.tv/TNT. And you can find me on Twitter. I am at Megan Morrone.
And I'm at Jason Howell. Thanks to our technical director, Anthony Nielsen, and all the folks who help us produce the show every single day. Thanks to you for talking tech with us. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.